Waiting for Din. All right. And then I need to go into create, go live. And then click over here. And let's see how it goes. And it looks like we're going live. We did good. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to put down the time we start. Started at 11:40, I guess it would be. 40 p.m. local. And then we'll go ahead and do our little smiley camouflage face. As soon as I can find it here. Oh, there it is. There it is. Right there. Alright, so that'll give me a good reminder on when to stop, since we're trying to make these about an hour long. And it looks like we've got everything ready to go. So we'll hit play. Now I've got Din does creative, Daddy Din, and Din 1. So we'll have to do a new game. And we'll come up here, we'll go Din creative mode. And I'll go they won't let me start anywhere else except Prime, it looks like. Yeah, so we'll stay with Prime. And instead of a standard game, we'll go to creative. And we'll go ahead and we'll leave it on default settings so we won't mess with that. Create. Now Din does creative. And yeah, it doesn't show anything. Huh. I wonder why it's got, well, I don't know if I should delete that one or not. Well, anyway, this is the one we're starting with a 0 tech levels. Alrighty.
Emergency. Correct your trajectory. Imminent impact. Imminent impact.
Okay, now in a second, there it goes. It's going to tell you what you need to do. Now remember, in creative mode, I don't actually have to harvest anything. So we just go here and we do the first one. And now it says T1 backpack, which would be here. And then it says T1 oxygen tank. There it is. And we got to equip the backpack, the oxygen tank, the microchip, craft the living compartment. Okay, so we'll have to hit the tab key. Now I'm going to do this, and with the assumption that I need to make this for new players. Alright, we did a left click with the mouse, sent everything over here from our basic inventory for the avatar, and then we'll click here so it'll arrange it in what the game considers to be the best order. Now also notice that there will be no changes here with our health, our thirst, and our oxygen level. We're already completely satisfied, which you normally don't see until the planet has oxygen and you no longer have to worry about making oxygen tanks like you see here, where you collect 2 cobalt and ice so you could have water to drink. It's a little bit different than the standard game, but we're going to try to mimic the standard game as best as we can, since that's where most people will want to play from. Alright, so we've got everything done except the living compartment, the door, the T1 drill, the wind turbine. so that the drill will work and the screen terraformation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead just a little bit by taking everything out of here. And, oh, wait a minute. It didn't say anything about taking out, no, it didn't, did it? Normally you start with this one right here. But it also offers the advanced ones, which you normally can't do until quite a few later in the game. But that would be because we're doing creative mode. Normally you don't see these when you start the game. I'm going to go ahead and make the improvements. And I'm going to go ahead and make the microchip for the torch. Well, we would call that a flashlight or something along that line. And I'm going to go ahead and make the construction menu filter, but I'm not going to load it up. Alright, press the tab key, and let's see, the only one I could really load up right now that would make sense would be this one. These other two I'll just have to carry in my backpack for now. But with this one, which is, you know, all the way up to T3 deconstruction microchip, we can deconstruct just about anything in the game that is normally allowed. Alright, so now let's see. We should be able to deconstruct. Alright. So technically we're done with this since we don't have to come back and replenish our oxygen. But usually you come out and you look for the first thing, you collect the necessary resources, you run back in and you craft it, recharge your oxygen, then you run out, collect some more resources depending on what your chip you're trying to make. And I would recommend following the upper left hand side. Just do those one at a time because you're going to be running back a lot to recharge your oxygen. Now I'm holding down the W key, which is normal to most of these games, and the grind for resources is very normal to these survival games. But I'm going to save a lot of time. What I can do in 1 hour, it would take you in standard game mode probably anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to complete, because you're doing a lot of running around gathering elements, or in this case they call it ore. Now this is the normal area you start your build in. Okay, and the reason why you do it is because that area down there is going to fill up with water. Now, if you don't want to get spoiler alerts, then I have no idea why you're watching this video or any other videos like it, because it's just going to be one spoiler alert after another. So you get up here and you find yourself a very flat spot. Now notice that it has a rise to it. This is kind of a low area, and it gets, you know, higher. So if you don't press the Q key and put your first living compartment a little bit on the high side, like about it's probably about as high as I dare, and then come up here, use your Q key again, like in quick, put your door in, and you should be able to jump up and walk right in. And of course the first thing you'd want to do is do your next crafting station, the T2 crafting station. And I always try to I try not to put it right here, because see what it does? Even though it doesn't really matter that it does that, it opens the door. Now we'd come up here and we would look for improvements. Now the first improvement we're going to need, of course, is the exoskeleton, because that opens more equipment capacity space so that you can do all these other things. Now I'm only going to do the first one, even though technically I probably shouldn't. Yeah, I think I'll hold off actually, because if I push the tab key, see, I don't have any more space. I can't even put these over there, even though I wouldn't put this one there for a long time. And technically, this one's not even available to us yet. Now, normally after you complete that, it's going to tell you to do a T1 drill. Now, that's where the Q key, like in quick, comes in again. And then you have to look through here and find the T1 drill right there. Generates pressure by releasing gases trapped in the ground. And it's zero point 0.2 per second on pressure, but it's going to cost you 0.5 per second on energy. And of course, you don't have that yet. So we'll just go over here. That's probably far enough away for now. And notice that it's not actually doing anything. You might think it is, but it's not, because it doesn't have any energy. So what does it tell you to do next? Craft a wind turbine. And so you go back to your Q key and you look for your first provider of kilowatts. Now that's enough to get the drill spinning. So it's actually doing something now. Now what do they want to do? They want you to craft a screen for terraformation. Alright, so we use the Q key again whenever we're crafting something and we're not using a machine to do it with. And you rotate your mouse wheel until you can get down here to this screen right here. Now notice you cannot put it outside. So that should be your first clue. You know, hop up here with the space bar and put it on the inside. Now if you want to put it on this wall, you're going to have to use the R key or the T key like in Tom to rotate it. Maybe I should move down here until it's flat, and then we can move it up and find somewhere to mount it. And usually that's how I'll do it. But notice what it does. It uses enough electric or kilowatts. You see, you need 0.4 per second just for that one screen. And of course, you're going to have to collect the iron, cobalt, and silicon before you can construct it. So, if we get out of this, what does it tell us to do now? Craft the screen blueprints. Notice it doesn't say anything about needing power. And of course, you can tell that things are kind of screwed up by the sound and by the fact that nothing is turning again. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to be limited on what you can do about the power situation to the wind turbine. So you would make another one. Okay, so that takes care. Even though they're turning against each other and they should be disabling each other, the game permits that. So there's a lot of things you should not get excited about. And right now we're getting bombarded by a meteorite storm. And that's how the game replenishes your ore, so that you'll have something to pick up. And it's very common result to hop back up in there. But now we've got our screen working. Now the screen is showing you what you should be focused on. Oxygen should be first, heat would be your second installation, and then pressure. And you'll just continue to repeat that cycle. Put something out for oxygen, something out for heat, something out for pressure. And then you'll start at the top: oxygen, heat, pressure, oxygen, heat, and pressure. And that's how you get the game to progress. Right now we don't have anything for oxygen, we got nothing for heat. So if you look at the top left hand side, it says screen for blueprint. So we push the Q key again, we would rotate our mouse wheel, and we would look for the screen that says blueprints. There it is right there. Now notice it's got a little pedestal on the bottom of it. These are your small screens. And if there's no pedestal, those are your large ones. So blueprints. Now what are you going to do with it? Well, this early in the game, about the best you can do is just stick it on the floor. I try to get it as close as I can. like so. Now, if we look out the door, we can see that the wind turbines are still rotating in a uh, destructive manner. They should be tearing each other apart. But anyway, now what do we need to do? T1 heater. All right, Q key again. Rotate your mouse wheel and find the T1 heater. There it is right there. Now, you would have to find some iridium, iron, and silicon to make one. Since we're in creative mode, we don't have to do that. Notice you cannot put it outside, so that means you're going to have to hop back in here and put it on the inside. And you see what it did again? It turned off everything because it robs you of power. So you come out here and you'd make another one of these wind turbines. And you'd try to keep the spacing about the same. And notice that the rotation is still where they would be tearing each other apart. The game doesn't care, and we don't either. Alright, so now what we want to do? We want to do a T1 veggie tube. Now, I'm not really sure why they called it a veggie tube, but we won't worry about that. Here's your T1 veggie tube right here. And we would go ahead and I will go ahead and stick it all the way up here. Now notice what you have to have. You have to go out and you have to find iron, ice, and magnesium. Now I actually need to back up a little bit because look, we never did bother to show how to collect, I believe that's pronounced iridium or iridium. Iron and silicone's not a big deal because it's you just run around, there's your silicone, and you look for the basic resources. And there's some iron. And for the veggie tube, you need iron, ice, and magnesium. Well, that's what iron looks like. There's your ice and magnesium. Yeah, I saw some right there. That's what your magnesium looks like. But your iridium is not out here. You have to go where they call it the falling sands. Now remember, you're gonna keep having struggles with getting to one place to another because you're gonna suffer from oxygen starvation. And if you die, guess what the game is gonna do to you? It's going to send you right back to the last shelter you were in. So you'll get out about this far and you're going to need to make another pod. But, whoops, it's back, rotate our mouse wheel up. Look what you have to have. 2 iron and a titanium. And then you're going to need a door. So that's another iron, 3. Another titanium, total of 2. And a silicon. And I haven't showed you what titanium looks like. There it is right there. It's kind of got a bumpy look to it. Now while we're out here, there is a risk we'll get hammered and might even get killed. But anyway, you're probably going to get about this far. And if you don't have those resources, you're probably going to starve yourself of oxygen and die. And get set back to the last structure you were in. So you jump up in here, you'd replenish your oxygen, and then you would go again. And you want to keep going towards, oh look at there, they just had a debris field and they dropped some cobalt. See how it's laying on its side? That's not laying on its side, so they probably just dropped the cobalt. And you got the falling sands. Now all of these areas with their unique well, they call it a biodome usually, or just a bio, and all of these areas have names. So you'll get right about here and you'll need all of the same construction materials again, so you can put yourself another one of these in. You'll have to go get it high enough and find a place where it'll allow you to put it. Now these are actually going to be temporary because later on we'll get rid of all this. You'll charge up your oxygen, and then you'll go around and you will collect all of this iridium that you can. And of course that's you press down your left mouse button. Most of the time you only have to press it down once. But you may not want to walk around slow like I'm doing. You may want to add the shift key so you go faster. Okay, now if I look at the inventory, it tells me I need 1 iridium, I need an iron, and a silicon. So I just showed you what everything looks like. And we've got, how many in our inventory? We've got 3 in our inventory. So then we would run back, recharge our oxygen, and while we're in there, if we have the required items, we would put in a heater. Let's see what it does for your power. So guess what you got to do? You got to come out here and put out another windmill. And to put out another windmill, you're going to need 1 iron. So you find your 1 iron and you put it and it restores your power. Now notice, about now you're going to have to go back inside here and recharge your oxygen again. But now you've got your second heater going. Now it also says we need to do a progress screen. Now normally you can do the progress screen anywhere you want to. It's one of the big ones. And it's telling you reach blue sky, which is going to take you 175 credits or TI. Now you can put that screen anywhere you want, and since I'm already here, I'm going to rotate my mouse wheel, find the progress screen right there, and there's the items I would need to collect, the ores, and as you can see it's got a little bit of an angle to it, so I got to use the R key or the T like in Tom key to rotate it and put it in. And notice what it does. It brings down my power again. So we'll have to run out here, find us some more iron, and then rotate our mouse wheel and put us up another one of these wind turbines, because nothing else is opened up yet for us. Can't get too close. Notice that everything's built in a square, and that's why everything looks like a square when you first install it. And it's the same thing again. Kind of destructive rotation where they're rotating into each other. Now inside here, you're probably wondering, well, what's cobalt look like? Well, that's what it looks like right there in the dark. It's kind of got a greenish look to it, whereas if you're out in the sunlight, it looks blue. So there's some iron, there's some magnesium, and over here we've got some more iron. So you just have to hunt around, but you got to keep an eye on your oxygen, and eventually you're going to have a problem with hunger. Okay, is that enough show and tell? Well, anyway, we're going to run up here because we're going to recommend that you do this. Go back and bring you back some more of this. Then come up here, replenish your oxygen. And by now, you're probably starting to get a little bit thirsty. So you're going to want to run back to your main, and if you remember, your main headquarters, you want to collect some ice on your way out in. And then you're going to want to stop here, replenish. If you get stuck by minerals, just hop over it, because the game will do that to you quite a bit. Replenish your oxygen, And now that you've got some ice, you want to try to get all the way back to your first structure. Now I'm holding down the W key, and I'm also holding down the Shift key. So you push down the W key first, and then you hold down together the Shift key so you can go faster. So there you go. And then you come over here and you'd put your ice in here, and you'd make yourself a water bottle. And if you look in your inventory by the tab key, T-A-B, you would see you've got some water to drink. So you'd drink it. And you would also notice that you've got these items that you brought with you from the escape pod that crashed out in the low spot. Now notice it says reach a blue sky. Now there's a lot of things you're going to need to get to there, and one of the things you're going to want to do is you want to craft more of these T1 heaters. So we got iridium, iron, and signal. Now we picked up some extra iridium before we came back, so there we go. And so you're going to have to run out here and put in another one of these wind turbine. And I have a tendency to want to put everything in a straight line, because later on we'll take these down, since they don't really provide much in the way of kilowatts. See there? 1.2 kilowatts per second. That's it. Now what we're waiting on is we're waiting for this to unlock. Now everything that you see on my screen is unlocked already, but in the game that will not be unlocked yet. The next one, which provides 6.5 per second kilowatts. Everything is per second, and when it's talking about power, it's all going to be kilowatts. Now see, it's just too high, I can't rock, but I made it too high because I know that this area doesn't stay flat for very long, and that's the best I can do. So I just use the space bar, hop up there while I'm pressing the W key, like in Wayne or Way. What else starts with W? Wait. Wide. Anyway, your W key. Now if you want to back up, it's the S like in Samuel key. If you want to move to the left, it's the A like an apple, or to the right, it's D like in doggy. Ditch. And what other word starts with the letter D? Okay, so you see what we got going here? You're going to be mimicking this a lot. Now it's not going to tell you this on the upper left side of your screen, but what you want to do is, like I said, if you can, you want to do something like this, but it's actually not going to do as much good. You start off with the oxygen, then you go to pressure. Alright, there we go. Now we're stuffed in this little bitty, I call these living pods, but in the game they call them living compartments. See here? There's nothing in there. So if I back up and I look at the little pop-up window when I'm staring at it, it's telling me it's using kilowatts, 0.35. It's got a growth speed of 0.5, and right now the growth is 0%. And that's because there's nothing in there. If we left click on it with our mouse, you see there? It's showing 2 leaves and a stem, but there's nothing in there. So we've got no growth. Now we did get this, so let's transfer that in there. Notice it's got, in the little pop-up window, 2 leaves and a short stem. That's telling you that it will go inside there. So we'll left click, transfers in there. Now when we look at this, we see that we've got this, what would you call that, a fluorescent tube right there in the center. And we've got this vine that's growing up there. Now when we look at the pop-up window, it's saying that it's now producing plus 0.15 ppq per second oxygen. It's also using 0.35 kilowatts, and its growth speed is 0.5. And so far we've got 31% out of 100 growth. See how that works? But now what are we going to do about this one? Well, we're not going to do much, are we? We need another one of those seeds. So what you want to do is you want to race down here and see if you can find yourself a blue. See, they call them crates. I would call it a foot locker or a chest maybe, because that's what it looks like. Looks like a little chest, a foot locker type thing. And you look in there and say, ooh, I don't see one of those plants. So really collecting anything out of here would be a waste of time. Now if we've got some space left over, and we do, we might want to go ahead and open up some space and say, well, I can't do anything with these items right now, so I'll transfer all that I can, and then I'll hit this little button right here. In the meantime, we're keeping an eye on our oxygen level because we're draining our oxygen level. And I would like to put that in there, but I can't. Now what I can do is drop it right there on the ground. See that little down arrow? There's your space food. And it won't do any harm to just leave it there. So we would probably be thinking, oh dear, I'm gonna die of oxygen starvation here pretty quick. So let's run over to the pod that's high and dry and replenish our oxygen. Even with the door open, it's blowing out oxygen and it's replenishing our oxygen supply if we're playing the standard game. So then we would run around and say, is there any more of those chests? Yep, there's one right there. Now what's in there? Not good. I don't see any plants. So we'll go ahead and we'll organize it. And there's no extra space either, so that we can use this as storage. Oh, was there some water in there? No, there's no water in there either. But you might want to collect 2 of these so that you can go back to the pod that crash landed and make yourself some oxygen. That way you can stay out and about looking around for stuff. And there's another one right up there. Now chances are you're going to discover about now you're getting real low on oxygen and maybe even water. So now would be a good time, if you have the resources, rotate your mouse wheel and make yourself another one of these. Put it towards the top of the crest, slightly above the ground. Put you in a door and recharge. Now if you're also getting low on water, you want to put one of these in here. In fact, you're going to want to put one of those in everyone. Because see here, you can make water if you've got ice in your inventory, and you can make oxygen if you have 2 cobalt. And also notice that now that we're doing a T2, we have more choices. Now if you're playing the standard game, you won't see everything you see right now, because the game is giving me credit in creative mode for completely terraforming this planet, moons, and if I have it, humble, which is the DLC that you can buy to add to the game, gives you another planet that you can terraform. Alright, so you go run over here, see what's in there, and right now what you really need is you need plants. Now there's one right there. It looks like a flower seed, so you would collect that. And you would collect this blueprint. Even though the game doesn't tell you these things, those are important issues for you. You would organize, and then your primary objective would be to run all the way back as fast as you can, pressing and holding down the W key and the shift key with your little pinky, most likely. And you might want to, collect some cobalt stuff, and then you would probably, if you need to, use some ice to make another water bottle. If you're starting to show signs of thirsty and you don't have any water bottles in your inventory, and you use a tab key again. Remember, what I can do in an hour is going to take you 3 or 4 hours to do, most likely. And then we would be running back to our headquarters. Now notice that the terrain gets real steep right in here, and you're going to get up there for a little while, then you're going to get stuck. You can't go any higher. So how do you get around that? Well, you press your spacebar and you hop up while you're holding down the W key. Then you hop in here, boom, and you come over here to your T1 veggie tube and you install. See, it's got the little symbol there, 2 leaves on a short stem, and bingo, you just added another oxygen multiplier. So now you're making a little bit more oxygen. Now we're kind of out of room. There's not much more we can do. So I'll just tell you what you need to do next. You need to expand this. Now that means that you're going to want to make another one of these. So you'll have to collect 2 iron and 1 titanium. Then you will click here and you will just, from the inside is a little bit easier than the outside, and boom, we just added another compartment. Now we have a choice to expand. So we would start with another veggie tube as soon as we have the materials we need. And the only option you'll have is another T1, but see what it does? So once again, you would want to put up another wind turbine. So you'd run out here most likely and put one in fairly close, and that would restore. Then we'd hop up, and the next thing, if you remember the sequence, oxygen, heat, pressure, if you follow that sequence you can't go wrong. Now on this side is when I would put in another heater if I have the necessary resources. So now you know where to get the iridium that you need, and you can find iron and silicon laying all over the place. But remember, every time you pick up something off the ground, it's a one-shot deal, because once you pick it up, it does not get replaced until there's a meteorite storm. And remember that that cave, which is actually more than a cave, it's actually a tunnel system, but that provides shortcuts to other areas. Once you pick up the iridium inside that area, it's it. It does not get replenished. Even the meteorite storms will not replenish it. So we would go here and we would add another one. There we go. And again, it brings down our power. So we would collect another iron as fast as we could without dying of oxygen starvation. And we would put up another one of these. Now remember, they don't provide very much in the way of kilowatts, so you're going to end up putting up a lot of these. Okay, now what's the next thing we're supposed to install? Pressure. So Q key, we look for the drill, which would be right there. We need a titanium and an iron, and once those are collected, we would come over here and we would put in another one. I kind of like to put them feet to feet, like that. And so far so good. We did not bring down our power generation grid system. So then we would probably be starving for oxygen again. We'd run back in here, recharge, and we would look to see what else is opened up. Now there's a pretty good chance by now that another screen will open up, and most likely it'll be this one. If it is, then you want to install it. Iron, silicon, and magnesium. Now it's got a little stem on the bottom telling you it's a small screen, and we would want to put it on the floor right next to our blueprint screen, like so. Now we could come over here and say, oh man, we've got 8 wind turbines, we've got almost no kilowatts to spare, and these are all of the things that we are providing energy for. Now I could come over here and look at this screen, and we can see we can get a better backpack. It's unlocked, and we can start now using solar panels, T1 solar panels. We can also now start using the T2 veggie tubes. We can get a better oxygen tank, and we can start putting windows in our compartment. Now since we have a blueprint on hand, if we look at our inventory, see right there, that will help us unlock something. So let's click on here, and since it shows it right there, let's click right here and decode a blueprint microchip. And what do we unlock? Oh, we unlocked our agility boots, the first ones. Now the agility boots help you move faster. And at this point in the game, that's a big deal. Now what else did we unlock? Well, let's do the backpack so we can carry more stuff right away. So we come over here, we find the next backpack, which would be this one right here. We have to trade in the first backpack, the T1, and then we need iron, silicon, and titanium. So we would run out the door and we'd look around for what we need. Now I'm not actually collecting these resources, so they're going to be laying here forever. And you would, once you collect those, about now you'll be starving for some oxygen. So you come back here and you'd recharge, and if you were successful in collecting everything, you would go ahead and you'd click right here. And these would not, iron, silicon, and titanium, they would not have that ghosty appearance. They'd have a bright white appearance, just like the T1 backpack has right now. So you click. And if you have the backpack already in your inventory for a gear, then it would automatically be upgraded to the T2. If it's over here, it'll also be upgraded, but you'll have to left click and send it over here. Now notice, we're going to have trouble adding anything else because we need some more space right here. But right now we're kind of stuck. We have to wait until stuff unlocks. Now, without power, we can't do squat. But we need more oxygen. So let's focus on getting more oxygen with larger T2 oxygen tank so we can stay outside a little bit longer before we have trouble with our oxygen supply. Alright, what do we need? Alright, we've got to turn in our T1 with some silicon, cobalt, titanium, magnesium twice in our inventory. So let's see. Well, we've got enough space, it looks like, since we did the backpack first. About now you've probably eaten your food source, and you might be thinking, well, if I don't get another one right quick, I'm going to be in trouble. So what you would do is you would probably make a beeline out here, collecting the resources you need. See, we needed what, 2 of those? We needed silicon and titanium. There's the titanium, and the silicon would look like right there. Okay, so then we'd run over here and we would recharge our oxygen supply, and notice we do not have the chest left anymore, which had food in it. And you remember what we did with our food? We stuck it over here in this blue crate, and we also threw one down on the ground. So we probably pick this one up and consume it. And then we will look in here and say, well, we've got some more. It might be a good idea for us to go ahead and collect a couple of those. And we might want to collect something else depending on what we need. Now, most likely we'd be looking to make spare oxygen. We look to make another heater, and we probably would need some iron, so we collect at least 2 of those. We might collect one of these and one of these and both of those. And well, we might go ahead and collect one of those and one of these like that and like that, because we have enough backpack space. Then we'd organize it all. And about now we start noticing we're getting low on oxygen again. So we would run back up here. And remember, this is a steep grade and we're going to get stuck. So we got to bounce up there with the space bar. It helps us jump. And then we jump again and get inside. And then we would come over here and we would make our T2 backpack. No, excuse me. We're not doing backpack. We're doing oxygen tank. Now, I didn't actually pick up any silicon, so it's not bright white like the other things are. But that's what we're missing. So if we look here, we've got a T1 and we want a T2. So we go right there. Boom. Alright, now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start going to this edge right here, and I'm going to start dumping stuff that I use out of my inventory. Okay, by now I've used 2 of these. I probably didn't use that one yet. And I haven't used these. And I probably haven't used these yet. But I probably did use this one and this one. So that gives you an idea what it is I'm going to need. But we don't have a lot of backpack space. So what we want to do is we want to come in here, and this is a nice little spot, and use our tab key and start dumping these extra resources. See that little arrow right there? Left click with the mouse. Let's see what it does. It throws this stuff, all it makes a mess. Now if this keeps rolling and gets in front of this door, then we're going to have trouble getting in and out. But you understand why we're doing this? We have not made any sort of storage yet. Now if we go back in and we look at we do have this option open. This one will open up later, and you'll have to buy that one with Terra tokens. But that's way off into the future. Now notice, you cannot put this on the ground for storage. If you have some iron, now I would have collected this and both of these and used them by now. And I would have collected this one and this one. So let's simulate that also. Let's see. There's the silicone I would have used up by now. I would have used this up, and probably would have used that one up by now to make some more water to drink. And we'll just dump this stuff here, because we probably would have used these by now. And that's about the only way I could simulate what your space would look like by now. Alright, so now I need 2 more of these iron. There we go, there's another one. And I'll probably need to make some water soon, so. And I'll go ahead and collect this one too. So see how you're clearing out the resources nearby? Because you're going to be focused on not having to go all that far. I better go ahead and collect. Yeah, I would have used that one. Probably not that one yet. And not that one yet. So we'll go over here and dump most of this again. Let's see, I would have used that one by now. I would have used that one and that one and that one by now. And that's probably what I would show in my inventory. So I'd race over here, and before I die of starvation of oxygen, I would be clicking right here on this foundation. It should already be open for you. And then you would want to bring it to about there. And we're trying to center it up as best we can. Bring it back down a little bit. You see those seams right there? We're looking at those seams and we're trying to line everything up as best we can. And then I would want to put the next one down right next to it. And the reason being is I want to put storage down. I don't have a lot of room inside, so we rotate our mouse wheel and we put this outside. Make sure it's all green. Move it out a little bit, like so. And now we'd start using that box for storage. Right now, that's probably the only thing I've got in there. So that if I need to make another oxygen bottle, no sweat. So now I can kind of clean up things a little bit. And then I can run over here and start storing this stuff in here for future needs. And then we can organize it. And I would estimate about now we need more iron. So we would go in here, we'd recharge our oxygen, and then we would run out here going as fast as we can and pick up some more iron and some more of these resources, because our living quarters, our living pod I would call it, is getting kind of small. See, I need mostly iron and a little bit of titanium. So you see the problem we're having already? Iron is not that easy to come up with. So what you want to do is you want to make a big circle right around your quarters, keeping an eye on your oxygen level. And when you need to, you're going to run back and recharge. Oops, I should have picked that one up already. Hop up there, boom, like so. Recharge. Now if I have the 2 iron and the 1 titanium, I would be able to rotate my mouse wheel so I get to the back and make our living quarters from the inside a little bit bigger. Now that will not happen if you built too close to the ground. That's why I recommend that you elevate. See there? As soon as we're building and we're bumping into the ground or a big rock or something, it will not allow us to make that addition. And then we would come over here and we would start storing what we can. Now notice we've already got a problem. We've used up all of our storage space. So we would have to have an iron so that we can rotate our mouse wheel down and put in another one of these. And you would want to put it not quite that close together, even though you can, the game will allow that, but I would recommend you do that. And then we would start putting stuff in there. Now we don't have enough stuff to worry about organizing it just yet, so we would recharge and then we would go out here and we start gathering more resources. And right about now we're probably starting to think, oh dear, we're gonna suffer from oxygen starvation in a minute here if we're not careful, because we've only got a T2 oxygen tank. It does give us more time before we run out of oxygen, but not that much. So we'd hop up in here and we would recharge, and then we would start thinking about storage again. Now you can transfer all of it at one shot by just clicking right here. And then you come over here and you can organize it. Alright, now let's see. What have we gotten behind on? We've got 2 and we've got 3. We don't have what we need there. Whoops. We don't have what we need there right now because we have to have another plant. And we haven't built another one of these yet. So that would be our next priority. And there we go, right there. And I like to put them toe to toe, so. And you see what it did again? So we would have to run out here and we'd have to put up another one of these. But we do have an option now. We have this available to us. See what you need? 1 iron, 2 cobalt, and 1 silicon. So when we can, we would run out here. We need a silicon. We need 2 iron or 1 iron, and we need 2 cobalt. And I think that's all we needed, wasn't it? Yep, we've got everything we need. So then we would run up here, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the shadow. Even though the game doesn't seem to care, see the shadow? We're not going to use the R like in Roger Rabbit and try to match that up. Okay, that looks about as perfect as we can get it, pointing towards the light source. And now we're providing ourselves a little bit more power than we could before. It does 6.5, so it's basically worth 5 of these. It gives enough power for 5 of these. Now, I don't recommend doing this, but you can kind of test it by taking these out. There's 5. Okay, now let's run inside. We need to recharge our oxygen anyway. Let's rotate our mouse wheel and take a look right here. See, I need a backup one, don't I? Yeah. So this is what opened up. T3 backpack is now open. We haven't done anything with that. So now we would be focusing on our T3 backpack. And we will look here to see if the T3, yep, we've got T3 available for everything. So for the backpack, oh, we've got a problem. We know we can do titanium and silicon, but we don't know about aluminum. And if we go over here, we've got the same problem again. Now, from here on out, aluminum is going to be very important to us. So let me throw this stuff off the side because we've already used it, so to speak. Oh, I guess since we had it in our inventory, the game went ahead and took it. Interesting. And even though, well, we didn't actually collect, we just did an example. So we would be making a run for our recharge oxygen shelter. I often call these rescue pods or rescue shelters because that's their primary purpose. And if we didn't run out of oxygen to do soon, we would be in here and recharging. After we recharge, we'd run back into here and we would be making a beeline for our next rescue shelter or rescue pod. Boom. Now, about this time, I'd be thinking, you know what? This is not the best place to put this. So I would want to take it down by, you see what I did? I rotate the mouse wheel so I could deconstruct and reuse those resources. But while you're up here, now that aluminum is very important to you, you want to run around in here and see if you can find some aluminum. You probably won't find very much in the front area, but if you go towards the back area, you should find some. Ah, here we go, right there. And we'd be keeping an eye on our oxygen and collecting as much aluminum out of here as we can. Now there is a better option, but right now we just don't have access to it. And I'd probably go ahead and pick up one of those while I'm at it, because I want to do another heater before much longer. And that's probably about all I could do before I have to run back to the shelter and recharge my oxygen. See there? Alright, so now we'd be making a beeline back to the original shelter, which I would call headquarters. But we would have to, you know, keep making these little pit stops. These are, of course, like I said before, temporary. Once you've got a better oxygen tank supply and whatnot, then you really wouldn't need those shelters anymore. But I would recommend that you don't remove those shelters anytime soon. Okay, we've been doing this for just about an hour now. And I want to try to keep these little episodes down to about an hour. So that we recharge, and since we kept the resources that we needed, we would want to reconstruct our progress screen in here. And it's going to be kind of picky about where we put it. I need to put it right there, but it's not going to let me do that. And why is it? Why? I should be able to put it in here. Now we can move these things around to our heart's content, but that's probably the most practical option right now. Alright, so we've got 3 heaters, we've got 3 of these, but we're missing the flour. That's the big deal for us right now. So we recharge our oxygen, and let's see, we need to discard the resources we picked up that we have most likely used. So we would not have used these yet because we did not construct another one of these little short guys, solar panels. And what we would need to do another one would be an iron and 2 cobalt. About this time you're thinking, well, I've pretty well cleaned up this area right up here. See, I don't see any cobalt nearby. And I am seeing some iron nearby, so we'll collect that. Here's here's 1 cobalt anyway. And I'm not seeing another one nearby. But I would need the ice about now, so I can make some water. So I really don't have a choice. I gotta start going down the hill into the valley. So then I would go back up here by now and recharge my oxygen. And then I would come out here and put up another panel. Now there's a little bit of a trick to this. To get these to line up, use the R key or the T key as you need. You see the shadows? You want to put the shadows right next door to each other. And if you got a very small gap between them, everything should be kosher. See there? The panels are not overlapping. They're pointing towards the best source of light that they should be collecting. And that is the way you would do that. Alright, so now we would go back up here. We would recharge our oxygen. And our priority right now is going to be another flower. Some more seed that we can use to generate oxygen. Okay, I need to discard let's see, we would have used one of those, and we would have made some water, so we would have used that one. Now we already know there's no flower seeds over there, or oxygen generating seeds, because they also have vines. So we would be going out here hunting for another blue box. Now we've already been to this one, but we'll pretend that we're not real sure what was in there. Say there's no seed, but we might want to collect this, and we might want to collect 2 of these. You know why? Because we're probably starting to show a little problems with hunger right now, and by the 2 cobalt we can make another oxygen cylinder. So we know there's a box up here, but again we have problems, but this is now a priority for us. And if we collect what we need, like so, we could probably get ourselves one of these, but we've already got one in there. So let's see, what would we be making? Well, we'd be making that if we had the ice, but this is what we need right now. That's going to extend our range. So we would run around and we would say, I've got an extra oxygen bottle now. I probably should collect for some water. And we need to press the space bar down a few times. And what we're doing is we're looking for a box that we haven't found before to see if by chance there might be some more. Oh, there's one. There might be some more seeds in there for oxygen. Nope, but we do see food, we do see water, we do see blueprint. Very high priority. Now, we do want to collect 2 of these and 1 of these. We'll probably need this one, and this one, so we can make another shelter. And chances are we put the shelter right in this area where it has a slight rise at the top of the little mound, I guess you'd call it. And remember what you need for the door: 1 iron, 1 titanium, 1 silicon. And then we come up here and recharge our oxygen. Now if we have the resources, we would also want to put in a T2 crafting station. Needed 1 iron and 1 silicon. There we go. So we're still on the hunt for more oxygen seeds. Now we've already used up some resources, so let's go ahead and take the rest out of this box. And since we want the iron, we'll decommission or deconstruct, and we're going to be on the lookout for another box. Let's get pretty close to the mountain wall here, because that's usually a good way to do that. Just kind of stay fairly close to it, and you can use the A key, add it, and the D key, add it to your W key and your shift key. Oh, what's this? A golden crate. Oh, nice. Oh, looky here. Very important to us right now. It provides oxygen. It's got a huge 600%. So we would be very happy, and we're saying, well, this stuff will come back for later. Except I want the aluminum now. Yeah, we'll leave the effigy and everything else there for now. And we'll backtrack. Of course, if we're getting low on oxygen, we would want to come to this top of this hill. And I would say if you're around 50%, I'll collect that. I need 2 iron and 1 titanium. So we'll figure we're 1 short. And we're probably looking for another titanium, which is usually easier to find. Huh. Oh, here we go, right here. Okay, so we get to the crest of the hill again, or should I call this a mound? And before we die of a lack of oxygen, this is what we would want to do. And if we can, we want to get in the habit of putting one of these crafting stations in here too. So we can make more oxygen, water, whatever we need to do. Okay, we're recharged. And we would run around like so. Oh, don't want to pass up any iron, because I see one over here. Now I need a silicon. Now I need another iron and another titanium. And now I'm ready to do another shelter. Of course, I also need to collect the materials I need for the door. And we'll look around in different directions, because we'll remember what we're looking for. And about now I need to put in another shelter. So I would put one of the box like so, and then I put in a door. I would jump up here and recharge, and I probably don't have what I need to put in a crafting station, but we'll do that later when we get a chance. Okay, so we're looking around and it says, what's that up there? Oh, we better collect some more resources here, because we're going to need another shelter. And we're going to need a door for that shelter. Now the only thing I'm missing is the titanium right there. So then we would try to find a fairly flat spot, which would be right about here. There we go. That's the best we could do, it looks like. Recharge our oxygen. And then we would go over here and check out what's in here. There we go, right there. See, it's got the two leaves with a short stem. And we're probably going to be very interested in collecting those food packs. And we're going to say, well, we're going to need another shelter soon. I've already used up some of these materials, so I probably should drop them down. We'll just drop them right over here for now. And try to remember that if we've dropped them, that means we've already used them. So let's see, we would have used that. We probably would have used... I don't see any silicon, and I don't see any titanium. Maybe it's actually using it when we build the shelters. They're taking it out of our inventory. Yeah, I think that's what it's doing. I think that's what the game is doing. So I need to drop over here a silicon and another one of these. And I would have used this and used that by now. I probably would have eaten some space food, and I'll organize everything. Okay, so then we would recharge our oxygen, and then we'd be making a run for our bases. Now we've got these little shelters laying all over the place, but we don't want to pass up any iron and stuff that we need. Like, we're going to need silicon, and we're going to need titanium if we come across any. So we'll recharge, and by now I think we would have had what we need to build one of these. because you want one of those in every one of these rescue shelters, because that will save your bacon at some time. And we would be making a beeline for our next shelter. There's some iron. And we would need titanium by now. And the closest shelter we would probably find down here would be the pod, but there's a good chance we wouldn't make it to the pod. So we come when we get here, and we would want to put another one out here. Now see how everything's built on a big square? That rock formation right there is what's blocking us. And then I would need the door. Then we'd come up here and recharge. We probably don't have what we need to put in the T2 crafting station. But now that we've got some inventory space, we would say, okay, I probably need this. I need this. I probably would like to grab this right now. Grab that one. Grab this one. And grab probably a silicon. And then right next to this shelter, I'm going to lay down the materials we've probably already used. So we would have used that, and we'll organize everything. And I probably used one of these by now. And I probably would have had two of these and used it already to make another oxygen bottle. So now we would make a beeline. And what we're looking for is our pod that crash landed. And we should be able to make it. It'll be tight. By now it'll be real tight. But it's not underwater yet, so we can still use it to recharge our oxygen supply. And at some point you want to read this. Welcome to your assigned planet. Your mission is to advance the terraformation process of this world. You need to generate O2, heat, and pressure. First reach and create a blue atmosphere. Now if we look up in the sky, that has not been done yet. See, I need to throw that one down, and I need to throw this one down, as if we'd already used it. Come on, finish it. Sometimes you have to point at it and hold down your left mouse key in order to, or mouse button. Now we need to throw down what we've probably already used, which would be this, this, and then run up the hill. And remember what happens, you get stuck. Use the old space bar to jump, and then we'll jump up in here, and we will finally be able to make progress. Now I'm not going to use these two because this one doesn't provide a boost at all. This one only has 200%, but this one is 600%. That is a nice boost. Now I want to see what this is, because we're going to unlock something most likely. So we go here to the blueprint screen, we would decode it, and we open up a mining speed so we can start picking up stuff a little bit faster. Okay, we've blasted our hours, so we're going to call this quits. So the first thing I do is do the escape key, save it, exit to main menu, and at this point I would say be well until next time.